Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bible in a Year, making it easier to understand. Thanks so much for joining us today.
We're all about reflecting the timeless truth of the Bible through the lens of today's world, making it relatable, understandable, and alive for your everyday life.
We're excited to dive into today's verses with fresh insights. Let's jump right in. You know that feeling when you just stubbed your toe, like really, really hard, and you're hopping around in agony, trying not to scream, and then someone, usually someone you love, looks at you and says, well, you really should have been watching where you were going.
Oh, the worst. The absolute worst. It's like, thank you, Captain Hindsight. My toe is currently pulsing with the heartbeat of a whale, but sure, let's discuss my walking strategy.
Exactly. It makes you want to just scream. Not because they're wrong. Technically, you should have been watching, but because it is the absolute wrong time for a lecture.
It's relational malpractice. It's kicking a man when he's down. And unfortunately, that is exactly what we are walking into today. Welcome to the world of spiritual gaslighting. Welcome back to Bible in a Year, making it easier to understand. I'm John.
And I'm Stephanie. And today we are on day 20. Can you believe it? We are 3 weeks in.
2 decades of days. We made it. And today we are covering Job chapters 5, 6, and 7.
And if you thought yesterday was tense with Eliphaz starting his speech, oh boy, buckle up. Because today, the gloves come off.
That's right. Yesterday, Eliphaz, Job's so-called friend, started very politely. He was like, excuse me, can I say something? But by chapter 5, which we're starting with today, the politeness is gone. He is doubling down.
So, let's set the scene again, just so we're all on the same page. Job is sitting in the dust. He has lost his children, his wealth, his health. He is covered in painful sores, and his 3 friends are sitting with him.
Right? And Eliphaz is the oldest. He's the senior theologian here. He's the guy with the PhD in how God works. And in chapter 5, he continues his argument from the previous chapter.
And his argument is basically, what?
His core argument is the doctrine of retribution. Doctrine of retribution. That's a fancy theological term that just means good things happen to good people, and bad things happen to bad people.
Which sounds nice on a bumper sticker.
It sounds great. It makes the world feel safe. If I am good, I will be safe. If Job is suffering, he must have been bad. It's simple math.
But life isn't simple math, John.
Exactly. And that's the tension of the book of Job. So look at how Eliphaz starts chapter 5. He says, call now. Is there anyone who will answer you? To which of the holy ones will you turn?
Oof, that feels sarcastic. Like, go ahead, Job. Call for help. See if any angels show up for a sinner like you.
It is sarcastic. He's taunting him. Then verse 2. Surely vexation kills the fool, and jealousy slays the simple.
Wait, did he just call Job a fool?
Implicitly, yes. He's saying, Job, you're upset, you're vexed, but getting angry about your suffering just proves you're a fool.
That makes me so angry for Job. Job isn't vexed because he's a fool. He's vexed because his life fell apart.
Right. But Eliphaz is operating on that strict logic. If you are suffering, you sinned. If you are angry about the suffering, you are just compounding the sin.
It's like telling someone who is crying doesn't solve anything. It's true, but it's cruel.
That's a great way to put it. And then Eliphaz drops one of the most famous lines in the book. Verse 7. Man is born to trouble as the sparks fly upward.
I've heard that before. I actually saw that on a heavy metal album cover once, I think. Or maybe it was a country song.
It works for both. It's a very metal verse. Sparks fly upward. It's poetic. He's saying, look, suffering is natural. It's inevitable. But look at the context. He just said in verse 6 that affliction does not come from the dust, nor does trouble sprout from the ground.
Okay, help me decode that. He's using metaphors. Affliction doesn't come from the dust. What does he mean?
He means trouble doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's not random. It has a source. And since it didn't just grow out of the ground, someone must have planted it.
And he's implying Job planted it.
Bingo. He's saying, Job, you planted seeds of sin, and now you are harvesting a crop of suffering. Man is born to trouble, especially when man asks for it.
Wow. So he's taking this beautiful, poetic language and using it as a weapon.
That is the Eliphaz special, weaponized theology. And here's where it gets really tricky, Stephanie. And I think this is why so many readers get confused by Job.
What do you mean?
A lot of what Eliphaz says is technically true.
Wait, what? I thought we were supposed to ignore these guys?
Well, God eventually says they spoke wrongly, but they aren't speaking gibberish. They are quoting general proverbs. For example, look at verse 13. Eliphaz says, "He catches the wise in their own craftiness."
Okay. He, being God.
Right? God outsmarts the smart people. Now, here is the kicker. The Apostle Paul, in the New Testament, 1 Corinthians 3 verse 19, quotes this verse.
No way.
Paul quotes Eliphaz. He quotes the bad guy of the book of Job as scripture.
Okay, my brain is breaking a little bit. How can Paul quote Eliphaz if Eliphaz is wrong?
Because the statement is true, but the application is false.
The statement is true, but the application is false. Break that down for us.
Okay. Is it true that God catches the wise in their craftiness? Yes, absolutely. God humbles the proud. That is a biblical truth.
Okay.
But is that what is happening to Job right now?
No! Job isn't being punished for being crafty or wise in a bad way. He's innocent.
Exactly. So Eliphaz is holding up a true statement, like a flashlight, but he's shining it in the wrong direction. He's using a truth about wicked men to beat up a righteous man.
That is terrifyingly subtle.
It is, and that's why we call this Instagram theology. You know those posts that have a beautiful sunset background and a verse like, "God will give you the desires of your heart"?
Yes, I see them every day.
And generally, that's true. God loves to bless us. But if you send that meme to someone whose spouse just died,
Oh. Oh, I see. It becomes toxic.
it becomes a lie. Because in that moment, their heart's desire is for their spouse to be back, and that isn't happening. So the truth becomes a weapon that says, well, maybe you just didn't have enough faith.
That is exactly what Eliphaz is doing. He keeps going in chapter 5, doesn't he? He talks about God healing.
Yes, verse 17. Behold, blessed is the one whom God reproves. Therefore despise not the discipline of the Almighty. And verse 18. For he wounds, but he binds up. He shatters, but his hands heal.
You know, John, I have actually sent that verse to people before. He wounds, but he binds up. I thought it was comforting.
It is comforting if you are in a season of discipline. If I am running away from God and he breaks my leg to stop me from running off a cliff, then yes, he wounded me to save me. That is a beautiful truth.
But Job isn't running off a cliff.
Job is sitting in the ashes, worshiping God. He doesn't need reproof. He needs comfort. But Eliphaz is diagnosing him with a disease he doesn't have. He's like a doctor insisting you need chemotherapy when you actually have a broken leg. The chemo is good medicine for cancer, but it will kill the guy with the broken leg.
Man, that is heavy. So Eliphaz finishes his speech, and he sounds so confident.
Oh, the arrogance is dripping off him. Look at the last verse of chapter 5, verse 27. Behold, this we have searched out. It is true. Hear and know it for your good.
Translation:
I've done the research. I'm right. Listen to me, and you'll get better.
Know it for your good. It's so condescending. I'm just telling you this for your own good, Job.
It's the ultimate mic drop. He sits back, folds his arms, and probably expects Job to say, "Oh, thank you, Eliphaz. You're right. I must be a secret sinner. Let me repent right now so my skin heals."
But that's not what happens.
Not even close.
Because Job isn't just a theological case study. He's a human being in pain. And in chapter 6, he finally speaks up.
And he is not happy.
No, he is not. And I love that he doesn't just take it. He pushes back.
He fights for his integrity. And honestly, Stephanie, chapter 6 has one of the most heartbreaking descriptions of friendship, or lack of friendship, in the whole Bible.
Yeah. He compares his friends to a dried-up creek.
A deceitful brook. It's such a savage burn.
But before we get to the burn, we need to take a quick break.
That's right. When we come back, we're going to look at Job's response. How do you handle it when your friends let you down in your darkest hour?
And why does Job say that his words have been rash?
Stick around. We're diving into chapter 6 right after this. And we are back from our break.
Okay, John. Before the break, Eliphaz basically told Job, "You're suffering because you sinned, so just admit it and get over it."
Which is, frankly, terrible advice. And in chapter 6, Job finally gets a chance to respond. And honestly, he sounds exhausted.
He really does. He starts by saying, "Oh, that my vexation were weighed, and all my calamity laid in the balances." Job 6, verse 2.
He's using marketplace language here. He's saying, put my pain on a scale. And then he says in verse 3, for then it would be heavier than the sand of the sea.
That is such a vivid image. Heavier than the sand of the sea. It's like he's saying his grief is physically crushing him.
It is. And then he admits something really vulnerable. He says, therefore my words have been rash.
Wait, he's apologizing?
Not exactly apologizing, but explaining. He's saying, Eliphaz, you're criticizing my tone. You're saying I sound crazy. Well, yeah, I sound crazy because I am in crazy amounts of pain.
It's like when a toddler is screaming because they're overtired. You don't lecture the toddler on their volume. You recognize they are falling apart.
Exactly. Context matters. But then, Job pivots to one of the funniest and snarkiest insults in the Bible. Look at verse 6.
Can that which is tasteless be eaten without salt, or is there any taste in the juice of the mallow?
Is there any taste in the juice of the mallow? Some translations say slime of the purslane or white of an egg. Basically, he's saying, Eliphaz, your advice is like eating unseasoned, slimy egg whites.
Ew.
It's gross. It has no flavor. It's technically food. It's technically truth, but it's nauseating to eat. He's telling them, your theology makes me want to vomit because it has no salt. It has no empathy.
That is a sick burn. Your advice tastes like slime.
And he's not done. This leads us to our modern mirror for the day. Because in verse 15, Job gives us the ultimate description of a bad friend.
Okay, lay it on us.
He says, my brothers are treacherous as a torrent bed, as torrential streams that pass away.
A torrent bed?
Okay, so picture the geography of the Middle East. You have these wadis, these dry riverbeds. In the winter, when it rains, they fill up with water. They are rushing, powerful rivers. They look promising.
Okay.
But in the summer, when the heat is scorching, when you actually need the water, what happens?
They dry up.
Completely. They vanish. They are just dry dust and rocks. So Job is painting a picture. He's like a traveler stumbling through the desert. He's dying of thirst. He sees his friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, Zophar, and he thinks, oh, thank God, a river. My friends are here. They will refresh me.
But when he gets there...
Dust. Just dry, hot rocks. He says in verse 15, you guys are deceitful brooks. You promised refreshment. But when the heat of my suffering actually arrived, you evaporated.
Wow. That hits close to home.
It really does. Think about it in modern terms. We all have those friends who are winter streams. When life is good, when the party is happening, when you're liquid and fun, they are rushing around you. They are loud and present.
But the second you go through a divorce...
Or you lose your job.
Or you get a scary diagnosis.
Poof. Gone. Or worse, they stay, but they offer nothing refreshing. They just sit there offering dry, dusty advice. Well, at least you have your health. Or, everything happens for a reason.
Ugh, that's the dry creek friend. You go to them for empathy, and you get a Hallmark card.
Exactly. It's a betrayal. Job says in verse 21, for you have now become nothing. You see my calamity and are afraid.
Whoa. You are afraid. That's an interesting twist. Why does he say they are afraid?
This is profound, Stephanie. Why do we give people platitudes when they are suffering? Why did Eliphaz give that robotic speech?
Because he didn't know what else to say.
Because he was scared. When you see a friend whose life has been destroyed, it terrifies you. It reminds you that your life could be destroyed too. It reminds you that you aren't in control.
So Eliphaz is trying to fix Job to make himself feel safe again.
Bingo. If he can prove Job sinned, then the world makes sense again. Job sinned, he suffered. I am good, so I am safe. He's not protecting Job. He's protecting his own worldview. He's afraid of the chaos.
That is so convicting. I mean, how many times have I tried to fix a friend's problem just because their sadness was making me uncomfortable?
We all do it. We are all deceitful brooks sometimes. We want to be the rushing river, but when things get hard, we dry up.
So what should they have done? If you're a true stream, what do?
You just flow. You bring the water. You sit there and say, "This sucks. I am so sorry. I'm not going anywhere." You offer the salt of kindness, not the white of the egg of correction.
I love that. And Job actually nails this point in verse 14. He says, "He who withholds kindness from a friend forsakes the fear of the Almighty." Wait, read that again. That sounds important.
He who withholds kindness from a friend forsakes the fear of the Almighty.
So Eliphaz was accusing Job of not fearing God.
Right?
But Job flips it and says, "Actually, you are the one not fearing God, because you aren't being kind to me."
Boom. Job is redefining what it means to be religious. Eliphaz thinks religion is having the right theology. Job says, no. If your theology doesn't lead to kindness for the suffering, you have abandoned God.
That is powerful. It connects the vertical, our relationship with God, with the horizontal, our relationship with people. You can't have one without the other.
You really can't. If you love God, you love your neighbor. If you judge your neighbor while they are bleeding, you don't actually know God. You just know rules.
Man, Job is sharper than I give him credit for. He's not just a victim, he's a fighter.
He is, and he's just getting started. Because in chapter 7, he stops talking to Eliphaz. He realizes Eliphaz is a dry creek. There's no water there. So he turns his head and looks up.
He talks to God?
He talks to God. And let me tell you, he does not hold back.
Is he respectful?
Well, he's honest. Let's put it that way. He calls God the watcher of mankind, but he doesn't mean it as a compliment.
Oh boy.
It gets intense. But before we see what Job says to the creator of the universe, we're going to take one more quick break.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Job chapter 7.
And we are back.
Okay, John. Job has shut down his friends. He's called them a dried-up creek. Now, he turns his face to the sky.
And this is where it gets uncomfortable. In chapter 7, Job prays. But it is not a, "now I lay me down to sleep" kind of prayer. It is a, "why won't you leave me alone" prayer.
Yeah, I was reading this, and honestly, it sounds like he is parodying the Psalms.
You caught that. He absolutely is. You know Psalm 8? "What is man that you are mindful of him?" David says that with wonder. He's like, "Wow, God, you're so big and I'm so small, yet you love me."
But Job flips it.
He twists it into a nightmare. In Job 7 verse 17, he asks, "What is man that you make so much of him, and that you set your heart on him? Visit him every morning and test him every moment."
It's the same words, but a totally different tone. Instead of, "Wow, you love me," it's, "Why are you obsessed with me?"
Exactly. He feels like he's under a microscope. He asks in verse 19, "Will you not look away from me and let me alone till I swallow my spit?"
Till I swallow my spit. That is graphic.
It's an idiom. It basically means, give me a second, give me a break. He feels like God is staring at him unblinkingly. And then he gives God a new title. In verse 20, he calls God a watcher of mankind.
Watcher of mankind. That sounds creepy.
It is meant to be. Usually when we say God is watching us, we mean it like a security guard. You know, he's watching over us. He's keeping the bad guys away.
Right. He watches over your coming and going.
But Job doesn't feel protected. He feels policed. He feels like God is a sniper on a roof, just waiting for him to mess up so he can pull the trigger. He says, "Why have you made me your target?"
That is heartbreaking. He thinks the suffering is God taking aim at him.
And this is the tragedy of suffering, Stephanie. Pain distorts our view of God. When life is good, God's gaze feels like a warm sun. When life is hard, God's gaze feels like a burning laser.
So is Job right? Is God targeting him?
No, we know from chapter 1 that God is actually bragging about Job. God isn't watching him like a sniper. He's watching him like a proud father at a wrestling match. He's rooting for him. But Job can't see the press box. He can only feel the pain of the mat.
That changes everything. God is watching with pride, not suspicion.
Exactly. But Job doesn't know that yet. And that brings us to the end of today's reading.
Which brings us to our text message summary. If you had to sum up Job 5 to 7 in one text to a friend, what would it be?
I'd say this. When you are suffering, You don't need friends who explain your pain like a math problem. You need friends who flow like a river. And remember, God is watching you, but he's not glaring at you.
Love it. Send.
Well, that is a wrap on day 20.
We survived the first round of speeches.
Barely. And tomorrow, we get to hear from friend number 2, Bildad. And spoiler alert, he is even meaner than Eliphaz.
Great. Can't wait.
But for today, here is your challenge. Be a river. Someone in your life is hurting. Don't go to them with Instagram theology. Don't try to fix them. Just show up. Bring the water of presence.
And don't be a dry creek.
Don't be a dry creek. Be a refreshing stream. We'll see you tomorrow for day 21.
Aye. That's a wrap on today's podcast. Thank you all so much for joining us and diving deep with us.
We truly value your time and love walking through these chapters together. Your support means the world.
If you've enjoyed this episode, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a day. Drop a comment below. We'd absolutely love to hear how Modern Mirrors is opening your eyes to the text in fresh ways.
Join us tomorrow for another inspiring journey into the Word of the Lord. Until then, God bless you abundantly.